apologize.
Any other questions or comments for Amanda and Wendy?
I
just wanted to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Joan.
Wendy, are you saying that food waste is being wasted as far as usable? Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying that. But I'm also saying some of the stuff we saw, and I say stuff, would be really hard to get out of the waste stream just based on what it was. So I think there's some, I'll look at the food waste as a category and see if we can make some conclusions on that and where the county might go with some education and outreach. But some of the stuff we saw in there was, it was contaminated with other things rather than food waste. And so it would make it difficult, I think, to put a program together to pull all of that.
Agreed. We saw packaged food in particular. That can be really challenging, right? Because you're asking someone to take something and take it out of the package and then have two different things they have to now sort. And if it's a business that has, you know, maybe their refrigerator broke down during the day and they have a lot of food that they can't sell to customers, they would have to unpackage all of that. So there's some unique challenges in food waste.
And I think to Amanda's point, I think in the August sort, maybe we saw multiple loads. I can't remember, 5, 6, 7 loads coming in drop boxes from one of the stores in your county that had packaged, what were they, Amanda? Popcorn?
Is cheese puffs or something?
fully packaged, brand new, not past their expiration date. We don't know why they came in. I believe we got 5 or 7 loads. One of them did get pulled in our random sampling. We're not sure why that came in, but there are also standards with food and how you can sell it, you know, and what makes a contamination that maybe it had to be disposed of. But I think, you know, that's one of the things we'll probably talk about in the final report as well.
I did want to just say thank you guys for that work you did. It's a lot for us to take in and understand the process. And I did appreciate what Ed Kunkel shared about the mitigation. Like you said, it's hard. People are going to do what they're going to do, but if we could maybe teach them, you know, especially with pizza boxes now, I'm just like, am I going to start telling people, hey man, just throw it in, I guess just throw your pizza box in the trash, because if you put it over here, it's going to contaminate something. I mean, would that be should I just, because that's a big thing. Everybody eats pizza and I'm like, attention all pizza eaters, do not put your pizza box in recycling, please. And I will say that to all my friends. I will, because if it's not helping the environment, then or if it's making it worse, then we've got to start somewhere. So, but thank you. I do appreciate everybody's input.
If you yelled out "attention all pizza eaters," you would have my ears for sure, Joseph. And Wendy, I know this is off topic, Wendy, but I love your chandelier, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't make myself go away behind me today. So I just have to give, you know, doing these waste characterization studies is a real team effort. And I think I would be really remiss with this group if I didn't bring it to your attention what a team we had going into these waste sorts. Amanda was wonderful. I mean, this girl is the hardest worker I've ever seen in a waste sort. She would get in there and sort. We sorted so many diapers. It was so disgusting. We saw so much stuff. Rob was there almost every day. Danielle was there. And then HDR, we brought a team from our Olympia office off of our green team. And we just had such a great working relationship with the county on this sort. It was just, you know, a pleasure to go through something as rotten as this was. So I just want to lay that out there for the SWAC as well.
You know, as you were giving your report and Amanda was showing the pictures, I was thinking, I'm so grateful that you guys did this and didn't ask us to do it. So thank you. I'll add to Wendy's thanks. This is incredibly important information. And I really want to thank you. And to Joseph's point, we eat a lot of pizza in this county. And people don't understand that those boxes are not, if they are grease stained, they are not clean and they are not prime for recycling. So it is really an important message that we can help with. Any other questions? Oh, yes, John.
I'd like to make a suggestion about the pizza boxes. I just tell all my friends, just tear off the lid. Usually the lid is not greasy. So if you can recycle half of your box, you're welcome to have more than if you go by some new rules.
Good point.
One other question I was going to ask is, if we do different counties, they obviously use different, not haulers, but where you take everything, to a center. Because for example, in Seattle, I don't know who they are able to recycle a lot more things than we are. What does that have to do with who is accepting your stuff?
That's part of it, Joan. And the other part of it is the county has an ordinance that regulates basically what is going to be collected. That's right, Jeff? Yes.
We have minimum standards, true.
Yes.
But you do mention Seattle, King County. One of the big pieces is availability and nearness of markets for certain things. There's probably certain items that they're collecting have a better availability because of the volume that they collect, better availability in certain markets, shipping. And plus, I think King County, Seattle public utilities have a lot of money. They can afford it. Probably some of those things are probably subsidized. So I'm familiar with that. I came from a county also previously in my previous work experience. We collected all kinds of things that nobody would know. We had curbside motor oil and antifreeze recycling, the household battery curbside. That those programs are expensive, but they did it was what they wanted to do. So yeah, again, it's, every jurisdiction is a little bit different. Again, a lot of it has to do with.
It seems like, Jeff, that some years ago we were able to recycle some things that now we're not.
And that is also the China sword thing that happened about 6-7 years ago. Also put a major crimp in a lot of the items that were collected. So what were markets, there's a lot that was going to Asia. We basically got cut off. So then the recycling programs all across the West Coast took a hit. A lot of things that were traditionally taken were dropped. So some of those things have recovered somewhat as there's been more stateside processing and facilities, but some things haven't. So it's, the markets have changed since.
Hey, Jeff, it's come up again that you're just really, really hard to hear. So when we get to your reports a little later, if you can just be aware of that and really move in on your mic, that'd be great. Any other questions or comments about the waste characterization study? Yes, Greg.
Thanks. I'm kind of hung up on the pizza boxes. And do we have an idea of how big of a problem that is? I mean, has that been characterized individually? That's one question.
Yeah.
And the second one is, if it is a large problem, it seems like a standardized product. Has anybody looked at doing, going to the manufacturer for these and like the different type of pizza box that it is more recyclable versus focusing on the recycling of it,
Right. So we didn't specifically sort pizza boxes, so we couldn't put an exact number on it, but it is something that qualitatively we hear about, or anecdotally. Yeah, people ask about it a lot. So it's definitely something that's come up often among the public and their questions around it. As far as like a new sort of product to use in place of pizza boxes. I don't know. I don't know, Jeff or Wendy, have you heard of anything like that? A different sort of pizza box that could be recycled or composted?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything recently or anything new, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of experience with pizza boxes and they've been
Oh,
the
I'm
same
sure.
my entire life, you know?
Yeah.
And everywhere you go, they're the same.
They
So like,
are, yeah.
yeah, and we always focus on this, you know, the manufacturer's responsibility for products and so forth. And pizza boxes might be one of those ones where it's like simple change.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it would be great to see some innovation there.
Yeah.
But lots of things to think about when you go do something like that. But just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make one more call about this study. I don't see any hands on screen. Anybody here in the room? Okay, we're gonna move on. Next, we will have a discussion about last month's field trip. And at the last minute, I was not able to participate in that. So anybody want to share their observations, thoughts generally about last month's field trip to Pioneer? I'm looking for hands.
Well,
Go ahead, Delroy.
I'll mention that. Yeah, I think that going, visiting that gives you a lot better understanding of how it moves through. It gives you a clear indication of the impact of contamination. And then it also, you know, I think one of, and I'll kind of diverse and relate to what we're talking about in the study.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be important to, when you're putting this stuff together, how collectible it is. What, you know, how it affects the end producer. The biggest thing is education. You know, and we talked about pizza boxes here. But the general public doesn't understand what the problem is. And then with your compostable utensils and that type of stuff, it depends on the manufacturer and what the content is. You know, what we need to do is to be, you know, specific and try to generalize the items that we're going to collect and how it can be collected. And once it gets to the processor, how it impacts their system. And I think it's going to be important, once you get all your data together, to sit down with the people that are going to be handling, collecting it and processing it, and really run that through, and then try to screen it out to where when you're trying to reach out to the general public, it needs to be consistent. It means you need to have some uniformity and has to be easy to understand. Because you can talk to 3 people and you'll get 3 different answers for the same question.
It's a good point. Any other thoughts, observations from last month's tour? Yes, Richard.
Yeah, I'll just say I really appreciated the opportunity to go on that tour. Plant manager accompanied us around the facility, and he was, you know, very straight on all of his answers and explained the processes very well. It's really quite impressive, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to go up and do that. And I'd recommend anyone who wasn't there and has the opportunity in the future and it fits your schedule. It's a really worthwhile tour, and I'll also say once again, thank you, Delroy, for the ride. It was great being able to get your perspective on things sort of offline, and I needed a ride, so thanks.
David has suggested in chat that maybe if there are a number of us who weren't able to make the tour, that we try to schedule another one, and I'm going to leave that in Amanda's capable hands.
I've got one other comment.
Yes, Delroy.
When I was at the facility, I had a question I was going to ask and I forgot.
Oh,
But anyway, I seen one of the other individuals later on, and my question is how long does it take a truckload of material to go completely from start to finish. It takes 15 minutes.
Really?
So that tells you how fast and how efficient
Yeah,
that, because, and you really don't get the clear picture of that until you go on that tour and you see that maze of.
that is very
conveyors and-
surprising to
Yes,
me.
it
Yeah,
really was. Yeah, I had no idea.
yeah.
I couldn't think it would be that efficient.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Thank you for sharing that. Joan,
Yeah, this is not about the tour. If I could go back and ask one other question, and that is, excuse me, I asked the question about the food waste, and I'm wondering, so we are mixing, commercial food waste with residential food waste, and that's what the biggest contaminant then is commercial?
Well, so the trucks pick up at the local businesses, and some of those routes are, sometimes the truck might be picking up at carts from apartments and residences and businesses on the same route, or sometimes they have different routes. So yeah, that material does get all mixed up in the truck. But as far as if the food waste is coming from more businesses or from more residents, that's something that'll probably come out through the data. I'd hate to say one way or the other, but Wendy, I think the data will probably have a clearer vision of the food waste, but we did see it from both. So, I mean, it's definitely a problem in both areas.
And one other thing, as you're mentioning that, while you're looking at this study, if there's any way that you can kind of address the issue, I think you find a lot more contamination in multifamily units because there's a lack of control over the material that's going into containers. And that could be why you see a big influx in your contamination.
Yeah, I would concur that the loads we saw that were coming out of what we'll call commercial, which included multifamily, were more highly contaminated in the food waste area than those that came out of the residential. So
Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
any other thoughts about the tour to Pioneer last month? We'll probably send out something by email to see if there are folks who would still like to participate in a tour, to see if we can put another one together.
There was one more comment that,
Yes.
that the individual giving us a tour was, we have the customers, we've said, hey, rinse out your cans and rinse this. His philosophy was just take a paper towel and wipe the contents out. And if there's some contamination, they're not impacted by it. And his theory was the water is far more valuable to conserve than the recycled material.
Oh, interesting.
I had never heard that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts? If not, Jeff, you are up with the LSWFA grant update. And once again, if you can just really focus on your mic.
I actually changed my mic location
Oh,
to,
that's so much better.
okay, I think it was the mic that was back on my PC and not on my webcam. So hopefully this will come through a little clearer.
So much better. Thank you.
Yeah, so LSWFA, Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Grants, that's the acronym. That's the Department of Ecology grant that goes out for various waste reduction, recycling, household hazardous waste type programs every biennium. We, in the most previous outing, which was 2021 to 23, and actually that grant cycle that we're in right now finishes up at the end of June. We funded two items. One was the waste characterization project that was funded by a LSWFA grant to the tune of about $200,000, of which the county pays a 25% of that as a match. The other part that we funded in this current cycle was ended up being $400-something thousand that was used to fund our labor and the hauling and disposal expenses at Hazo House. So for basically operations and of our household hazardous waste program, so which ended up helping to fund a lot of our expenses related to that. So the current upcoming grant round, which will be beginning July 1st of this year, going for the 2-year cycle, so through June 30th of 2025, we put in an application back in early May. That was the deadline, was May 9th to apply for that. This time we put in for basically similarly to fund our household hazardous waste activities, so our labor and our costs for the hauling away, disposal, and or recycling of moderate risk waste, to the tune of a request of $752,000, of which the 25% of that be a match. So that works out to about $560,000 of ecology money that will fund a good deal of our household hazardous waste expenses at Hazo House over the next coming 2 years. So we have been approved for that by ecology, and basically they're working on the grant contract right now. So that should be signed shortly. And it's a nice, like I said, I think it was $560,000. Yes, a nice bit of income to help fund that activity. Additionally, the public health and social services applied for out of what was available for the Thurston County for a $100,000 grant to fund the update of the household hazardous waste management plan. As you know, we recently updated our solid waste management plan, which was made official here a little more than a year ago, a year and a half ago. But the household hazardous waste management plan, the last version of that was 2014. So is overdue to be updated. So again, public health will be the lead agency on that. Obviously, there will be feedback from us, from our division, of course, because we run Hazo House. And I anticipate there'll be some input opportunities during this plan being put together from the SWAC too. So just a heads up that will be coming over the next couple of years, over the biennium, that process will be moving forward. So that anyway, I just wanted to let you know that that's kind of what we're looking at here for the next biennium, next 2 years, grant related. So I don't know if anybody has any questions related to either of those two.
Thanks for that update, Jeff. Any questions about this grant process or the projects that we're looking at? I don't see any hands in the room or on the screen, Jeff. So if you want to continue on to your report, that'd be great.
Sure. All I can say is we're very excited we like taking ecology's money. And I also should mention, just in the previous biennium, the one that we're currently in right now, is as you get near the end of that time, the jurisdictions that don't spend out all the money that they've been granted goes back into a pool, and then you have the opportunity to request additional funds out of what's left over. We did that back near the beginning of this year, and I think I may have mentioned it before, but we got another $140,000 just to use for the last 2 quarters, again, that we put towards our Hazo House operation. So we will do the same thing again in the next biennium.
Do you anticipate there will be surplus funds again that you can apply for?
Probably, because there's 20, I think it's either 27 or 28 million that's available, but it's to spread out for everybody, for all the county and other jurisdictions. So I know public health didn't spend through all their money and what they had in the last biennium. So, but yeah, there's folks that just, for whatever reason that it is, that don't spend it out. And so ecology always asks, when we start getting 6-9 months away from the end of that period, if they want to release dollars, and a lot of them do. So it's a good opportunity, and we always take advantage of that opportunity whenever possible. So, all right, enough on that. Managers just got some updates. So I'll get to the one that was added here in just a minute. So first off, work reconfiguration project. As you know, we're moving forward with you guys saw the proposals, and we recommended the option D version of the configuration, where we're looking at expanding the transfer station building itself to allow for have all of our public tipping be kind of attached to the transfer station building, and getting away from the tipping wall concept. So we have engaged with HDR in the preparation of a pre-design. So basically that pre-design it includes basically we're confirming all the objectives and criteria for this, the planned site improvements, confirmation updates to the basis of design concept for the option D that we showed you. And basically they're putting together a basis of design that will have a report that will have that available. So when we go out to with an RFP or bid for an actual architectural design of plans and specifications for that work, we have it more finely honed on what our requirements and specifics of that design are going to look like. So it'll make it easier for the architect engineering firm to really hone in on the design and what our needs and requirements are. So additionally, this pre-design will be after we get that basis of design, we'll also be preparing a anticipated expectation of construction costs, so we can have a more current, updated version of what this looks like and what this will likely cost to build. At this point now, we have an estimate but that was done in 2021 when the initial report was done. So as you know, since 2021, costs have changed. So it'll be good to have an updated estimate on what this is going to cost to get this completed. So when we have this basis, this pre-design report, we'll be bringing it to the committee for your information and review as well. So that should be coming here in the next couple of months. So just again, there's a heads up on something that'll be coming to this group for their take a look at and to have to review. Anything on that before I move forward? Okay. We are also, and I think we've discussed this, we're currently putting together bid documents for the replacement of the purchase and replacement of our compactor here at the transfer station building. So as you know, the idea is to replace this existing compactor, which it's pretty well worn. It's been cycled more than I think was originally anticipated. But the idea would be to remove that one, put a new one in there, but to basically mothball the one that comes out, so to speak, and that will then utilize and install in what I just spoke about, the newly reconfigured transfer station building, so that we'd have two compactors essentially available in the building, which will provide us a level of redundancy. So when one either goes down unexpectedly or goes down just for scheduled maintenance, you have a second one so you don't get buried and behind. And of course, you'll always have that option for a top loading where you're not using either. That's crucial in things like power outages and stuff like that. So you can still move the waste out. So again, we'll be bringing to the board in the very near future the bid documents and going out to get bids on providing that new compactor and installing it. So
hey Jeff, do you have and I know it's early because you haven't done the bid yet, but do you have a general idea of what the cost of purchasing the compactor and installation will be?
It'll be probably in the $2 million-ish range, in that vicinity. So it's we're getting a compactor about the same size, which is on the high end as far as the size and capacity. So and we have 2.5 million in our CI.
Okay, I'm showing my ignorance here too. How do you store a compactor and where do you do that?
As far as the one that's taken out, we'll find some space on our property here to do that. Probably need to be covered, and we'll be working. That'll be a separate contract.
Okay.
Once the other one's taken out and put in, as we will be contracting with SSI, who is the manufacturer of our current compactor on performing, you know, procedures to get it ready to, again, mothball, so to speak, cover and make sure that, you know, we keep it out of the weather and ready to go once we, you know, we're ready to put it back in.
Thank you for that. And it looks like Joseph has a question as well.
Yeah, going along with the compactor, what's the estimated lifetime of usage on that, you know, even with like regular maintenance? How long will this last?
These, you know, between 10, 20 years. We went back and looked, it's interesting that we went back and looked at, it was been 2016 when we last procured the current compactor. When we looked at the amount of tons that we were expecting to process through that, we've been putting through, our waste grew way faster than that. We've been putting way more tons than our expected throughput at that point in time. So it's gotten a lot more cycling than what was originally anticipated. So, I mean, it'll be great as a secondary, but we just want to have that reliability for right now. And then again, that redundancy for us is a huge piece. Just you know, and then additionally, as the waste continues to grow further out in the future, sometimes, you know, maybe we'll need to run both side by side. I mean, to really move the material, depending on how our waste grows. Hopefully, it won't grow that bad, but you know, you never know. So we're looking out in, you know, the next 20-year plus window ahead, you know, with the reconfiguration as well as with this, just to make sure that we have out in the future the ability to manage the waste as we need to.
Yeah, thank you for that outlook, Jeff. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one before I move on?
I am not seeing any hands either in the room or on the screen.
South County Transfer Station siting study. So we're currently, again, working with HDR on this. They went out with the GIS, looking at all available properties in the South County area. But surprisingly, you know, with some minimum, you know, we had a set of criteria. You know, one of those is minimum size, and as well as things such as, you know, not being in airport zones or in wetlands, et cetera. It's, you know, there's certain other, you know, fatal flaw factors. And surprisingly, there's not as many parcels as you think there might be that fit that general criteria. So we've got it down to, I believe, about 9 or so, and we're expecting to have a report on those 9 and a ranking of those here shortly. And again, this will be something that we'll be bringing to you most likely at the next meeting, just the preliminary piece on that, just for your education. Kind of here's where we're, you know, the initial concepts, and we, you know, eventually it'll get whittled down to just a few that we would look at more, you know, more in depth. But here's just the first listing of what's potentially available. And again, we'll have more information on that here shortly, but just wanted to give you an update on that, because that's obviously a potential hot topic and a long-term project for this group and all of us. So
I'm kind of surprised you found 9.
It's yeah, I mean, we had to look at, well, initially, actually, it was way less than that, because the initial screening was no residential type zones.
Yeah.
That being said, if you go into the county's code, there's several rural residential zones that are allowable for conditional use for solid waste facilities. So there was those particular zones were inadvertently screened out. So when they added those back in, we were able to get some. Whether they're viable or not, it's another story. If they had houses on them, it's obviously somebody's living there. That kind of weeds that out as well. So we're looking more for generally bare property, particularly not for people living there, because we'd have no desire to kick people off their, no eminent domain. I'll go with that. So that's not a place we want to go. So, again, I'll have more updates on that here shortly. And then next, I think I may have spoken about this before, but we're putting break buildings at our drop box sites, so our employees and our contractors' employees have a place to eat their lunch and get out of the weather from time to time. We finally. We put out the bid. We have a contractor. Actually, we obtained that a while ago, but then we had to get through some additional permitting process with CPED here, and we just picked up our permits yesterday finally. So now finally all systems go. We're gonna get those built and in place. So I'm excited about that. We'll still be at our job, you know, granted, we're looking at a potential South County transfer station, but that's gonna be years away. So we still have to operate Rainier and Rochester for quite some time. So we need to improve the facilities, at least to provide our employees a little better work-life experience. If you've ever been out there and seen what they're using, it's pretty minimalistic. So, and additionally, the board yesterday approved a contract for our analytical lab testing. We use this contractor for this for it has to do with primarily with the old closed landfill here, is groundwater sampling, you know, leachate and any stormwater sampling that we do that needs to be, have analytical testing done. That it was time to get a new contract for that. We worked jointly with our wastewater folks. So the contract that was approved by the board yesterday accounts for our lab work as well as theirs for the water treatment facilities, as well as the drinking water they provide at some of their facilities. So again, the board approved that yesterday. Our costs for that are usually about $60,000 a year or so. So anyway, that contract was let, so that's new and approved for us. And lastly, I just kind of wanted to, because, and it was requested as well, let's give an update on the Republic transition. So they began on a cold start on May 1st. Actually, overall, I'd say it went fairly well. Generally speaking, particularly here at the work, the customers did, really didn't notice the difference. But there was challenges. There's still a few things that they're scrambling and working on with this, because it's hard when you come from a dead stop. Basically all the equipment moved out on Sunday, and they had to move all their stuff in Monday morning on Monday, May 1st. But they're managing it. The site operations manager Gerald Towsley and myself are in very, very regular communication on various issues. So they're working them out and getting up to speed. Probably the two issues that we're still working, that's of any really major substance, is dust control here at the work. There's been a change in how containers are brought to and from the facility. And I know you've spoken about this before, but it's visually, it sure looks a heck of a lot different as well. Is instead of the coming in on vehicle chassis, the shipping containers, which then are hauled to and from Centralia and here, they are using a top pick. So basically a truck comes in with a container, it's lifted off of the truck, and then it empties, and then with the truck, they load a full one onto that truck and it goes away. So we have a large stacks of empty and filled containers just literally stacked on top of each other here. That area where they're doing those operations is not a paved area, so dust has been a substantive issue. They finally have procured a large, very large water truck that will be showing up on Thursday to hopefully alleviate that and do, particularly the summer. We've had no rain since the beginning of May, so that's really definitely created a dust issue. But particularly for the dust tends to drift towards the recycling center and Hazo House, so it's been creating a little bit of issue there. So we're working on
so Jeff, water is not a real good long-term solution. Is there a plan to either pave or do something else there?
Well, not at this time, because it's basically that area will get more or less built over when we do the work reconfiguration.
Okay, all right.
And so that's all going to, so it'll be a huge area, it'd be super expensive to pave, and then it's all going to get chewed up when we did that. So
yeah.
There's other possibilities. You could look at things like lignin or other things to bind it, but we've actually, I know Waste Connections had pretty good luck with regular watering just to keep it, particularly in the summertime. Obviously, it's only an issue for a few months of the year, typically here, but
Right.
it's been abnormally dry. so far this, like I said, I don't think we've had rains like the 3rd or 4th of May, something like that. So that's not normal for Thurston County. So that's one issue. I think they're getting that worked out. The other one has to do with they changed the for recycling at all 3 sites, particularly for cardboard, because we've been getting such massive quantities of cardboard. They went with a larger container, and they provided steps to those containers. Well, so some customers are not too happy about the steps and still having to kind of reach up and toss their cardboard into the larger 40-yard bins. Now they now have new to this contract is Republic has 2 staff at each of our each of the Dropbox sites, as well as of course they staff the recycling area here at the work. One of the staff at each of the Dropbox sites is at the recycling area, and those employees are helping people that are infirm or senior citizens that aren't able to do that. So they're actually performing that for them. However, they're working on Republic is working on making improvements to the steps, with maybe with the ramp and doing something better, a little bit safer for the customers to be able to load their recyclables into those containers. So that's what we've been getting on them about. I mean, it's nice to have the extra capacity because we tend to not overload with them. We've had issues at the Dropbox sites for running out of capacity, particularly for cardboard in the past previously. So they provided larger containers, but some of the implementation of how people are getting that in there is maybe not been the greatest so far. So we're working on better solutions for that. So hopefully that will be improved. But they are providing staff that will assist customers and actually will put their recyclables in the bin if the customers aren't wanting to or able to.
I self-haul to Rainier, and I'm amazed at how the world of Amazon has changed cardboard, the cardboard issues. And Joseph's going to fix the pizza box situation, but we have an issue with just the way in which we purchase everything these days too. Richard.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a somewhat mobility challenged person, that the guys there were very helpful at getting my cardboard up because it's a big lift for me. So
agreed. And we want to make that a better, a little bit more user friendly. So then it's okay right now, but it's not ideal, and it needs to be better. But you're right, they are helping.
And I'm glad the help was there. I needed that.
Well, that would not have been acceptable if the help hadn't been there. So. And those
yes,
those
Elaine.
are the 2 big issues that we're still continuing to work on. Brady is, they're operating. No concerns there so far. So basically, they're doing their thing as far as the organics.
Elaine does have her hand up too.
My question was on recycling. We did styrofoam before. Have they found a new place to do recycling for styrofoam?
They have not. There's still nobody. Once DART closed in Tumwater, there's nothing in this county. I think nothing in Pierce either. I think the nearest is up in King. There was a company that's in Kent that was doing it. Though I did hear recently somebody, and I haven't confirmed this, that they may be having issues as well. So there needs to be something local, because the whole issue with styrofoam is it's cost prohibitive to ship it any distance, because it has no weight and a huge volume. So to make it economical to ship, either you have to be very, very close, so you don't have a lot of trucking, or you need to somebody needs to be here locally that can condense it. There's densifiers that machines that you can do to turn it into much heavier bricks. So you're getting rid of a lot of the air, because you're transporting air, styrofoam. But there's nobody locally right now that I know that's doing that. So we continue to keep our ears open and look for opportunities. But until that time, unfortunately, I know, because I have a bunch of them personally. I mean, I'd love to have a closer opportunity, but right now it's just waste, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
fingers crossed. I mean, that we can, somebody will come up with something. But part of the issue is, I don't know if you may have heard, that it was the styrofoam law that was passed number of years ago. I even saw an article just a few days ago. June 1st was the actual final implementation date. Now it is basically illegal to sell or distribute, or use packing peanuts, styrofoam clamshells, and you can even be fined for it as of now starting June 1st. So, and that was really the reason DART went out, because that was a lot of what they were producing. So, and now that's not usable. It just didn't make sense for them to continue to operate in that manner.
Yeah, thank you.
And that is all I have, and look at right on time too.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jeff? If not, are there any announcements or comments from the group to the group?
I just have one thing I'll toss in. I was in Colorado just before the pandemic, and I know that in Boulder there's a recycling EcoCycle, I think they're called, and they have a densifier for styrofoam. Might be worth a call to them if you want to find out what they're doing and how that's working. But you're right, it's not common.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's just styrofoam isn't what it used to be in our packaging lives. Any other questions, comments, announcements? If not, we are adjourning right on time. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your
Thank you.
participation today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.